Recording in progress.
Okay, we will call to order the August 2nd meeting, regular meeting of APCHA. We'll start with roll call.
Okay. Ward Howenstein?
Present.
Kelly?
Kind of.
Kelly?
Hang on. Here.
Thank you. Allison?
Yes, present.
Carson?
Here.
Peter?
Present.
Thank you.
Okay. First item on the
Is there
agenda.
any way to see video in the room?
Oh,
Working on that right now.
With the GrassRoots links. Okay, thank you.
but we're not.
We're not sure why.
There we go.
No,
No.
that's not what we should be on. Let's go.
They're on the Zoom?
No.
It's on the same
Speaker,
screen.
no.
Yeah, it's on the same.
I just don't think GrassRoots is on where
Yeah,
they're
it's
supposed to be
on
yet.
Are we missing something?
I don't have any control over that.
There
There it is.
There we go.
Okay, so I have to pin.
Okay. So we will go to public comment. Do we have anyone with public comment? There's no one here in the room. It doesn't look like we have anybody online. Hearing none, we will close public comment and move to Board of Directors comments. We'll start with Kelly.
I don't have any since we'll get a update from Matthew on report out from retreat. Thank you.
Thanks. Ward?
No comments.
Okay. Allison?
No, welcome Peter to our first official meeting with a new member sitting here, and I feel like we got more echo than, I feel like a rock star right now. And just because I saw it come through as a press release in my inbox today, I guess of note is that Burlingame applications, maybe this will come up in staff comments as well, but Burlingame applications are open, and that's all I'm going to say about it so I don't get anything wrong, but how exciting. And if you are prospective resident, get your application in.
Peter?
No comments, just happy to be here and serve as alternate.
Great, yeah, and as you and I have said, or welcome, and as you and I have discussed, as an alternate, your voice counts the exact same as everyone else on the board. So please don't be bashful when we're discussing topics. So
And
welcome.
you're also a voting member tonight. Since
today you're a
John's
voting member,
Ward's
yeah.
not here.
Great. So let's see, Matthew is going to be joining us late, correct?
I have a couple of comments.
Okay.
That he wanted me to.
So we'll let Cindy go ahead and relay those, and then when Matthew shows up, we can come back to him.
Burlingame 3 bidding is open. There is a tab with all the information on the APCHA website. The ads are out in English and Spanish. There's also a brochure that's out in English and Spanish as well. And our newsletter, our APCHA newsletter will be coming out sometime in the next week or two, and the main focus is going to be Burlingame 3. So make sure that you go on our website and find out what's going on with that. I think the first lotteries, that deadline is August 11th, is that correct? For applications. So all applications are due by April 11th. What, did we set a certain time?
August.
August, I'm sorry, August. August 11th, was it 1 o'clock?
Yes.
Okay, so 1 o'clock on August 11th. The applications, if you're interested in at least the first set, the applications are due by that date. Just a reminder. As to sales, we do
Real quick,
have
Cindy,
other.
I think Kelly had a question
Okay.
on that.
Yes?
Cindy, do you feel like you guys have the staff capacity to provide the Spanish language support for inquiries and application processing?
Well, we do have one of our property managers is very fluent in Spanish, and Matthew is too. So if somebody has questions, one of them is usually in the office that can help out.
Okay. I would encourage if that feels like that's something that's getting away from you guys, to reach out, I would be happy to go to our board to help dedicate some additional resources in the processing of these applications, if that's helpful.
I'll ask, I'll check with Matthew in the morning about that as well.
And he and I have had conversations, but I just want to keep reiterating that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
We do have some rental units that are being, did some of those close today, the rental units? Okay. And we do have some other ownership besides Burlingame 3 that are on the market right now. We have a couple of Category 5s. One is a Woody Creek home I don't know if it's a 2-bedroom or 3-bedroom at Woody Creek. That's Category 5. And then we also now have a 1-bedroom Category 5 that's on the market as well, that's located right off of Cemetery Lane. So if you're interested in any of those, please make sure that you check our ads on our website and sign up for notifications. That's all I have for right now.
Can I
Thank
ask
you.
a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Is there an APCHA wait list for rental units?
No, we do not keep a wait list. For our rental units that we manage, we advertise, and if anybody's interested in it, then they have to sign, they go on our website and they say that they're interested in a specific unit. Many years ago, we had a wait list, and we would take our time to call people, and we would end up going through 50, 60, 70 people before we found somebody that said, oh, yeah, I might want that. So it took so much of staff's time, we decided to do it a different way. So we advertise it through our website, and then for the properties that we manage, we have a priority system of the longest work history. For Castle Ridge and Centennial, the bigger ones, they have to contact them directly. They might have their own wait lists, but
They generally don't
yeah.
keep wait lists either for the same reason.
Because we have people who,
Right.
people will call them on a daily basis almost to see if they have any openings. So a lot of that is first come, first serve.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. And so then we'll come back to Matthew. So we'll move to the consent calendar. So I've got the minutes of June 21st, 2023 regular meeting and the July 18th, 2023 special meeting. Any discussion on that or motion to approve the consent calendar?
I move to approve the consent calendar.
Okay, we've got a motion from Ward.
Is there a
I'll second.
Second from Kelly, and it is a roll call. Any discussion or modification on this? No. So it is a roll call vote.
Okay, Carson,
Yes.
Allison? No. Kelly,
Yes.
Ward,
Yes.
and Peter?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, and with that, we'll move to the second quarter presentation on HomeTrek statistics. Andrew, welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Give me just one moment.
Look how far ahead we are when Matthew's not
Right?
around.
Start this. All right, good afternoon. Happy to see you all again. Just a quick note. I have been thinking through these quarterly reports based off some previous conversations we've had over, I think this is my 6th or 7th quarterly presentation. So today's is going to look similar to what you've seen before, but just know that there is some thought going on in my mind, and a little conversation I've had with Matthew too on maybe revamping kind of what this presentation looks like, whether it is in this form or whether we need to guide it in a different way. Also to note right before I start, next quarter, I should be able to bring the 2023 biennial affidavit data to you. At this point, we're not ready to have that in terms of pulling all the data together for public consumption, but that is kind of on the horizon as well. So if you have questions about today's report, what I'm going to be showing you isn't, again, the exact PDF report booklet that I sent out, but it's all those data points kind of combined into one. Always happy to have suggestions, but I just wanted to start with kind of that forethought of, hey, these presentations may be changing a little bit as well. All right. So looking at inventory numbers, we actually had a decrease of 3, and that should be 3131. My apologies there. I will make a note and fix that. It is correct in your report booklet, but not on this slide presentation. Where this net decrease comes from is we actually removed 4 units. 1235 Mountain View is mitigated for affordable housing tax credits. 831 West Bleecker, we actually had 2 addresses in here, 829 and 831. 829 is the owner's unit who built a deed restricted unit, so we removed the owner's unit that is not deed restricted there. And then there were some duplicates just with addressing, especially when you get into the downtown core. Those addressing can be really, really challenging. And so as we've started getting into dealing with HomeTrek and having everything in one place, we've been able to clarify a lot of addresses in one place. So that was the removal of those 2. And then we added 608 Lakeside Drive, which is a Pitkin County unit, meaning it is for Pitkin County employees.
That was recently purchased,
Was it recent? Yeah, okay, thank you.
For that. And then when something's mitigated, usually you think that that is adding to the system. Someone received affordable housing tax credits in exchange for the house? What does that mean?
I'll let Cindy answer that one.
You can buy, and a developer or free market person can buy a certificate, a free, affordable housing credit certificate, and turn that over, and then have their deed restriction removed. So because like when Peter built all those, he received a whole bunch of credits that he could sell. And so we already have the employee housing, so that's,
Got it.
The city approved that.
Got it.
That property it went through, and the city was the one that approved it and accepted that.
Thank you.
So that's really a 1-for-1,
Well, not physically.
but did the tax credit, was that assigned to a Peter Fornell unit?
We have, it wasn't necessarily assigned, but we have already that unit in place, deed restricted. That was a 100% affordable housing project that was done without any mitigation. So that's what that credit was for, or that's what those certificates are for. If some of the new development like Gorsuch, if they ever start building up on top of the hill, they have a bunch that they have to mitigate. And so they can use those credits, which we already have the housing for, and then they get that credit for it, and that takes care of their mitigation.
But it's not standard practice, someone could take a deed restricted unit and extinguish the deed.
They have to get
restriction.
approval. No matter
Okay.
what, they have to get approval. Yeah.
Great.
All right, moving on. Talking about applications in Q2, total of 342, 12 less than we had in Q1. I would very much assume that you are going to see a huge uptick if I do something similar for Q3 with regards to applications, just because of Burlingame. Just a side note on a data point for Burlingame, we've had, I think, 113 individual households bid on the first 16 lotteries in Burlingame, and out of that, I think 32 are from new applications that have come in. And that's in about a 2-week time period for those applications. Had 56 less denied compared to Q1 and 44 more approved. Looking at the next slide, we'll give you a little bit more information on how that kind of all breaks out. These are 4 application types that our qualification specialists look at. as typical. Long-term rental saw the most in terms of where our qualification specialist time was, just in overall work. That doesn't mean that a sales ownership application can't take twice the amount of time as a rental qualification, depending on what type of application or who the applicant or applicants are. And then just a breakdown by percentage of kind of where we're seeing when those applications come in, where they're coming from. One thing to note for long-term rental, that is also for requalifications. So I would expect to see a higher number in long-term because it is initial applications as well as people who are reapplying for their current rental. And same thing for tax credit. The only ones that don't have a requalification or that they can use a previous application for is seasonal and sales. Sales, while we might since they have to requalify on a yearly basis, we might use their taxes from 2 years ago for the 2-year requirement of taxes. They would still have to submit a brand new application, and they don't get any type of 150% above the category in terms of requalification there. Denial reasons, just because I know I've had some questions about that. This is for all 4 application types. They include being under minimum occupancy limit, so that would be for rental, being over the income limit, again for rentals, being unable to provide full-time employment, being unable to verify income and assets. Other, in this case, would be not replying to a unit offer, as we do set a deadline for them to be able to respond so that we can get that unit occupied as soon as possible. Their 75% of their income might have not been in Pitkin County, or they were offered another unit, so we denied them for that specific unit, or any combination. Looking at, sorry, any questions on qualifications? Moving on to APCHA managed. This is just, again, looking at about our 350 units, including the 100 at Maroldt, in terms of turnover. 64 were new/renewed lease, with the majority of those being renewals. We typically see about 21 in this quarter of new and renewed lease on an average per month in that quarter. Less than Q1, we see a lot of turnover in Q1, or not turnover, a lot of renewal, because I think a lot of ACI, one of our tax credit units, have January 1st start dates, and that's just how it lies with how that specific applicant or tenant started their lease term. Looking at just a percentage of the overall inventory, that is 18% in Q2, did see a new or renewed lease. Looking at kind of that second section there with 103 move-outs, please note that 96 of those are for Maroldt because their leases end at the end of April. So Q2 will always see a large move-out, and same thing with Q3, always seeing a large move-in, relatively speaking, as that's when leases start and end within for Maroldt. I did try to include one data point there at the last dot of that second section. Really, we only saw 1.9% of our inventory moved out of, if I take out all those Maroldt move-outs there. So that I think gives you a better picture, because we will always see 96 units moved out of at the end of April. Maintenance requests had an increase of 165 maintenance requests, but again, a good chunk of those are turnovers for the Maroldt units and make-readies, so that our maintenance team could get them ready for the music associates to be able to move in for the summer. And again, down at the bottom, I do always say you can see the full list of where all this data comes from in that report booklet. So if you're curious of, well, what are those maintenance requests, there is that breakdown of by the category that our maintenance team has submitted them in. All right, just a breakdown, again, still staying with APCHA managed. This is by those 5 properties that we manage. We only had 5 new and renewed leases for Aspen Country Inn, 1 for Smuggler, 35 and 23 respectively for Truscott 1 and Truscott 2. And then for the move-outs, again, you can see that large number of move-outs came from Maroldt Ranch. I always like to remind the board that it's not 100, as not all 100 units are seasonal rentals. There are a handful, I think it is 4 if I'm correct, that are have kitchenettes in them and have some priority for city employees there. So that's why you're never going to see a total 100. It could happen if those 4 units also moved out in Q2, but typically we'd only see those 96. And then move out reasons. Here we had 2 transfers, 1 job change, 1 purchase to home, and then 96 other, which is our Meralt, and end of winter seasonal rental period on those. Sorry, thank you.
Forgive me for asking these kind of rookie questions, but this is 350 of the 1,300 rental units. So
Correct.
the other 1,000 unit rental units, we don't have any kind of data on their move-ins or move-outs, do we?
We have it through qualifications and through the requalification periods, but not in the hard sense of me having a move-in case that I can pull direct data on in the same way that I can easily do it for APCHA managed.
Okay.
All right, last thing for APCHA managed, talking about interest submitted, we actually only had 1 new unit come up during Q2, and it was a Category 1 studio over at Smuggler Mountain Apartments. Only saw 26 people sign up for putting their name on the list to be offered the unit possibly based off how our regulations function. It is a Category 1, so while 26 might seem low, it is a low income limit. I didn't put Category 1 on here, but it's actually the same income limits as ACI. It just has a lower net asset compared. I think it's only 150-ish for the net assets. But for a single person, they can't make over $38,700 to be able to qualify for this particular unit. I did talk to property management a little bit, and as of last week when I talked to them, 7 of our 9 LIHTC units, low-income housing tax credit units at T2 and ACI, have been offered to households, so we did have some vacancies there, but with...
I feel really bad. I'm sorry. Well, most of it's over.
Who's?
We made our way through it.
Joanna.
Today was the day.
There we go. She's muted. Thank you.
She's fine.
Sorry about that. So with May, we actually had an increase in here, and I need to update that. And I will update that, make sure it's in your board packet, and resend that out if it's not. These are the 2022 incomes. We do have the 2023 incomes, and they went up, I would say, significantly. I think it's for a 1 person in the 50s now, and I think for a 2 person it was like 64, if I remember correctly. But I will make sure you get that information if it's not updated in your packet as well. So what we're hoping with those increases, especially for the 2-bedroom LIHTC units that are hard to fill, is that we'll be able to hopefully find some applicants to fill those units. But as of right now, again, we have 7 of 9 that have been offered to households that had been vacant for a period of time. All right, moving on to sales bids. We had a total of 12 listings, more than double than Q1, 365 total bids in Q2. Since it was double, I would expect to see more. That third data point, sorry if it's a little small, that's just saying 80% of bids in Q2 came from households with 0 dependents. So a pretty large swath. Again, that doesn't mean that that is the demand. That just means that is what happened based off the 365 total bids that we saw during Q2. There were 12 lotteries during that period. 5 of those winners of the 12 were current owners, and 3 of those 5 winners were in complex bid. So they were current owners already currently living at that particular complex. And so their unit did then come available as well. Work history stayed the same as Q1, an average of 20 years between those 12 winners. And then we had a total of 10 units close, 3 less than Q1, and I do believe our average sales price did go down a little bit, but the average sales price of those 10 units, and that is from Category 2 through Category RO, there's full breakdown in your report booklet, was $585,019.
Can I ask,
Yep.
on the third bullet down, Q2 2023 had 12 lotteries. So of the 9 lotteries, 5 are winners, were current owners, 3 were in complex bids. So does that mean 1 winner was not currently in APCHA housing, ownership housing?
No, so, 7 winners were non-owners. In the report booklet, I do break it down specifically that states how many owners were in APCHA deed restricted, how many were in free market, how many were in other deed restricted, and then it's also broken down whether any of those were owners. All of our owners were APCHA deed restricted owners, though. We didn't have a single owner outside that didn't own an APCHA deed restricted property.
And it's not 5 plus 3. 3 of the 5
3 of the
winners were
5.
in compliance.
Correct.
Thanks.
Yep. Thank you for that clarification. Yep, sorry, I wrote it down here. Of the 5 were APCHA, 0 free market, 0 other. Of the renters that won, 4 were APCHA deed restricted, 2 were free market renters, and 1 was an other deed restricted, so possibly Snowmass or Garfield County or Eagle County, possibly. All right. Just seeing a breakdown this is again looking at total bids that we saw. So the first section we're looking at is number of bids by bedroom. We had 5 units that were 1 bedrooms, and we saw 212 bids there. We had 6 units that were 2 bedrooms and saw 105. So even though we had more units, we saw more bids in the 1 bedroom. However, please take into consideration the next portion as well. If those were all category RO 1 bedrooms, they probably would not have saw 212 bids there. So there is an overlap there that does come into play, but this is just to break down specifically how many did we see by bedroom, how many did we see by category. So I try to let you know how many units in each section that we had there. So predominantly our number of bids were on 1 bedrooms in Q2. And then predominantly our number of bids by category were for category 3 and 4 units. But again, that makes up 11 of the 13 units here, because the 1 bid we saw in category 5 closed at the very beginning of March. So we had 1 person bid in Q2, whereas all the other people who bid on that unit bid in Q1. And then there's that breakdown by household. One thing I do want to point out, because we haven't seen this yet in any of the reports, that last column before the total, our regulations do allow for 3 adults to bid on multi-bedroom units or even a 1-bedroom unit if they so choose. But we did see 2 bids for 3-person households, 3 adults, so over the age of 19. In this case. So they all had to bring in show their income, show their assets, show their taxes, and we used 3-person household looking at what their combined income was and combined net assets were. So we hadn't seen that before, but that is written into our regulations as well and priorities. Yeah.
Could you remind me, so then if in that instance 3 adults win and then one of the adults wants to move out, how does that?
I'll leave that Cindy. Thanks.
That's why 3 adult household is a second priority over a household of 3 with 1 dependent.
Got it.
So they have the top priority. And then if there's 3 adults, then they all have to be on the loan. They all have to be on the deed to make it a little bit harder, because that's one thing that happened when one of the housing projects, they were all houses. 3 adults got together, closed on it, and within a month, the 1 person bought 2 of them out.
Right.
So because that's not the purpose for a 3-bedroom is for a household or a family. Mm-hmm. That's one of the reasons why it's a household of 3 with at least one of those being a dependent as the top priority. We still prefer 3 working adults versus 2 working adults in a 3-bedroom.
Right.
But that's still, we have not seen that. We've always, on 3 bedrooms, we've always had a household of 3 with 2,
right,
with at least one dependent on it.
And so, I mean, if somebody wanted to just, quick claim 1 person off the deed, I mean, is there any way we could?
There's no way we can
We wouldn't
stop
know about that, right?
We know about it because I get reports from the clerk and recorder's office on a monthly basis of quick claim deeds.
Okay.
So I find that stuff out.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Did we discuss this or pass something recently? Like if they were to try and get a new loan under just 2, when they no longer qualify and have to sell the house? Usually, we haven't really seen that in such a long time. Okay.
that, but if 3 adults did come through, we would require all 3 of them to be on the mortgage. Just like in a 2-person household, it's the same way, because you
That's
can
what I'm
have,
thinking.
you can have somebody, well, this person's gonna go with me, but I'm only gonna be the loan, it's like, I'm gonna be the only one getting the loan. We tell them that they both have to go together to get the loan. If the lender says the credit on this person is so bad that we don't want him on the loan, we will allow it, but we will ask them to sign another document at closing that states if that person gets off the deed within a certain period of time, they have to sell the unit.
Okay.
So that covers us, at least for a couple of years.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
What-
then
Yeah, go ahead.
just in this case, since they're second tier, like 10 people would have to pass, pass,
Right.
and then get it
Yeah.
down to them for
Right.
this to even be an issue.
Exactly,
Exactly, yeah.
yeah.
Great. Thanks.
Yeah. And I said I'd truck through this today. So please let me know if you have any questions. I know it's why I'm kind of rethinking this and maybe some new data points that might be helpful. I do try to pay attention to what your guys' work is so that if it is helpful for me to provide additional information for some board work, I can do that. But I think this is also, especially this pared down version, is just a good way for you guys to see what APCHA is doing on a quarterly basis. And maybe this needs to turn into a twice a year. Yeah.
I love that you're thinking about how to present this. One note, if you wanted to reduce, I guess, your in-person presentations, we usually don't get that full report along with the packet, but if you were able to back up your workflow, and I don't know if that's so that you get us the most up-to-date data or, and include it in the packet, I do think that that could stand in, and maybe you're here for a call-up or something. Also having those online, which I see you did well for 2021 and 2022, but I think we're a couple behind now for 2023. Just so, like, for me, it's more like, can the public access it? And then you work your presentations however you want. My biggest thing when you're showing data, I think it'd be more helpful to do year over year quarters than previous quarter, for the same reasons you brought up, of things like, of course, Merle is going to throw Q2 so far off of Q1, but it shouldn't throw Q2 2023 that far off Q2 2022.
Yeah.
And then that would be like a learning, like, oh, what happened? It'll show
And
changes in
that's-
the economy. It'll show, like, we always do need to pick up one staff person in the summer. Like, it'll help us see these cyclical trends.
And that's kind of what I'm thinking of,
Cool.
is because I haven't had that comparable data or other data points to start looking at what any trends across quarters are or across years are. So that's why it's been very canned in terms of here's what happened last quarter. But that is kind of my thought process going forward, is where can I see trends and help show those to you guys a little bit more.
Great. Thank you. Any
Thank
other
you.
questions? Ward Kelly? Nope. All right.
Appreciate it.
Thanks. We are way ahead of schedule
You're
here.
way ahead of schedule. Matthew has not gotten online yet,
Okay.
and I know Bethany's online. Bethany, do you have any,
Is Tom Smith online?
Tom's online.
yes,
I
but
mean,
that's going into
does,
exec
does
session.
Matthew need
and,
to be here for the executive session?
We could kick you guys out while we wait for him.
Well, we don't, I was just gonna let them leave, and the same with GrassRoots when we went into exec session.
Tom? I think Tom has.
I was blowing my hand here. I was just gonna suggest we could move the executive session up. I can obviously inform Matthew of everything we discussed, and I think I know what he might have to contribute, so that's just a suggestion.
Okay.
And we can do that. GrassRoots will put us on hold, and then they'll have to come back. And I'll have to have either Karen or Michael come back.
Yeah, and I would
Afterwards
also
as well.
say it's not gonna take an hour.
Yeah, we
It's
might
not
kick
gonna
Okay.
be
you
an
out
hour.
earlier than
Okay.
planned for the night.
Okay. So then what we'll do is we'll just, we will move on the agenda, we'll move the 2023 work plan and 2024 work plan discussion to the bottom here to follow the executive session. So I would go ahead and make a motion to go into executive session for a conference with APCHA attorney for purpose of receiving legal advice and to update the board pursuant to CRS section 24-6-4024B on the following pending cases: McIntyre versus APCHA case number 2022 CV 30094, Highlands Villas v. APCHA case number 2023 CV 30067, and Singer v. APCHA Dora charge number H23000166604.
I second.
Second from Allison, and it's a roll call vote.
Okay. Kelly? Is that a yes? Thank you. Ward?
Yes.
Peter?
Yes.
Carson?
Yes.
And Allison?
Yes.
Okay, we'll take a short 5-minute break here to clear the room, pause GrassRoots, and we'll be back here at 4:41.
Recording in progress.
Okay, we are back. We had one remaining item on the agenda, which was the review of the 2023 work plan and work on the 2024 work plan. We still don't have Matthew here, so we're going to table that agenda item to, I guess, yeah, maybe our September meeting. So we'll table that for now. And then that concludes the agenda. So if there are no other items, would take a motion to adjourn.
I would happily move to adjourn from the East Coast.
Yeah.
Did you find it?
I will second also from the East Coast, just further down.
I think my only comment would be if you want to include notes, Matthew's not listening, but in our next packet as like a homework to get us ready for the September meeting, like if you already had something ready, that might be a way to do it. But I agree that that's a great time to talk about it is then.
Great. Okay, motion to adjourn. It's a roll call vote.
Ward,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
Peter,
Yes.
Carson,
Yes.
Allison.
Yes.
Meeting is adjourned, 5:57. Thank you.
Great. It's a little